Hello, my name's Drew Mellor. I'm the leader of BCP Council and delighted to be with you today. Today's the first time we're having our Facebook Live session that is actually going to be streamed on a number of channels. So if you're joining us on YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, then really great to see you. So this is a half an hour to ask any question you like. Please put it in; it will come through. And I'd be very happy to answer it. We're really committed to trying to do more of this effectively. So great to see you. And anybody's got any ideas of different topical sessions we can do, very happy to see them. Today is a session with myself and also Councillor Beverley Dunlop, who is leading on something called Festival Coast Live. So we're going to have a bit of a discussion about what Festival Coast Live is. But before we get to that, I'll just start a very brief, as I always do, a COVID update to see where we are. So our rate of COVID is now 130 per 100,000 of population. So it's actually rising quite fast. Early June we were, in the about 10 per 100,000. So it's rising fast. That's mostly in 15 to 24-year-olds, so the least vaccinated members of society at the moment. The great news is it's not falling through those increased rates of transmission into hospitalisation. So I know at the start of the week we had 4 people across Dorset in hospital with COVID, and that effectively, we were over 600 before. So the vaccination's working. We've done over 1 million doses of vaccination in Dorset now. It's open up to all age groups. So if you haven't already got vaccinated, please do. Please chase up your second appointments, and we're getting through the end of this, and it's looking like July the 19th will be the date for the restrictions will ease. Okay, so as I've said, so today is about Festival Coast Live. I'm delighted to have Beverley Dunlop with me, who's leading on that for us. So please put your comments and questions in about that, but also any normal questions you've got, you've got as well. So as we introduce Beverley, she can tell us a little bit about what Festival Coast Live is. So Beverley will shortly be on our screen, and then what we're going to do. Great. Okay. Well, good, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Bev, great to see you. Thanks for taking the time to come and see us. I believe Festival Coast Live started last weekend. I was in Poole on Saturday afternoon, and there was a couple of Festival Coast Live events, which were great, really making the place feel more animated. Could you tell us a little bit more about what Festival Coast Live is?
Yeah, hello, Drew. It's quite a crazy, big, ambitious programme of outdoor activity and entertainment that's going right across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, over 13 locations. And the concept is to animate our public space in the outdoors, so people can wander around, enjoy the outdoors, and there's things for them to see and do, popping up all over the place, and make sure we can do it in a safe way. We've had to comply, obviously, with the government guidelines and make sure that people can move out safely. So people can wander about. There's pop-ups of performances, activities, music, and even dance that will crop up over the course of the summer. As you said, last weekend was our launch, and we had a variety of activities in Bournemouth, in the Lower Gardens and the town centre in Christchurch. And in Poole, we supported the markets, marvellous markets, with a lot of performers. So we had a lot of people singing over there. We had some pretty crazy people in the gardens, which were fabulous. Kids love them, people on stilts dressed as butterflies. We had a wonderful hula hoop lady. And then we had performances in the bandstand, so that was really great. And over the next few weekends, we'll be having more activities. And then as we get to the summer holidays, we'll start to step that up so that we're having events in the week. We're working with some great partners, people like Pavilion Dance Southwest, Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, lots of existing event organisers, working with people in Boscombe, Beef, and various event organisers around the conurbation. And we've got a lot planned. I think we're looking at something like 700 events, activities and things over the summer. So it's all really designed to help people get their mojo back. Right now, we've got the Wimbledon screen in the gardens, and we've got a packed programme with that of movies, concerts and sing-alongs, all for the family. So that's sort of a bit of a nutshell of Festival Coast Live.
Yeah, thanks, Bev. So if any questions for Bev, please put them in the chat, and we'll get to them. I think it's, it is great. We've had the last 15 months have been a real struggle for everybody, and one of the, what we needed to do now is to sort of come out of that as a community and celebrate and be with people again safely. So the fact that they're outdoor events, really a range of different places, I'm really, really excited, Bev. So thanks for all you're doing. So to be clear, questions on Festival Coast Live and normal questions. And what we're going to do now is we'll start to go to some of the questions that have already come in. So thank you very much for those. Okay, fine. We've got a question from David Bowerman about how the scooter scheme is doing. So David, thank you very much for your question. So just to be clear, we've got the use of e-scooters isn't legal in the UK, other than some pilot schemes effectively, and the government will look at the data from those pilot schemes and then decide whether e-scooters will be legalised. We are one of those pilot schemes, so you can use our Beryl Bikes partner, and so you can rent out e-scooters. The data, David, is really good in terms of people using them. So take-up's been good. We're getting some feedback from residents around the appropriate use of them and where they're being used. So our ones, effectively the Beryl ones, we're able to do things like on the prom, we can slow them down in certain areas, we can make them stop in certain areas. So the legal use of e-scooters is actually, the data is looking quite strong on, but the antisocial behaviour, element is there, and that's less able to be controlled on non-BCP council Beryl scooters. So we're gonna have a look at it, the data, David, and then we'll make a decision as government will. But we do need a solution to how people get that effectively last mile or last mile and a half, around places, and it could be part of that solution. So really happy to be part of the trial, David. Thank you. Julianne Holbury has asked a question around what's our next step, RE building on the Greenbelt. So Julie, thanks for the question. We're in the process of doing a local plan at the moment, and a local plan is effectively what we expect to happen, in areas throughout the conurbation for the period of the next period. So and in that we have to look at where we're going to build housing, where we're going to do a lot of other development, and what the place needs. We're absolutely committed to retaining the Greenbelt. We sincerely don't want to be building on it. We also do need to build a significant amount of houses. So what we're trying to do as an administration is protect, historic areas like Christchurch, particularly, that town centre environment and the surrounds. We're trying to protect the Greenbelt by it's called urban densification, effectively. So building more in our more urban areas and higher, in town centres. So we've got a really ambitious programme of making sure we're making the best use of those brownfield and development sites. So it's, to really take the pressure off of the Greenbelt. That said, we also need to build family houses. So there's a mix there, and you can't build lots of family houses if you're going very high. So Julie, there's a consultation throughout the summer effectively on it. We really want to hear people. We're committed to protecting the Greenbelt passionately, please be engaged in that consultation. So thank you for your question. Okay, let's see if we've got some other questions. Fine. Yeah, Martin Pope, what is your administration doing to encourage younger adults to get involved in local democracy? Really important question. For a start, and I guess this is just a start, but the fact that we're trying to really sort of extend our Facebook Live bit, make it a bit more open and transparent, I think that's something. What we're also committed to doing is making sure all our meetings are broadcast effectively, so people can access it in a different way than we've expected people to access it for years, i.e. turning up to a civic centre at different times of the day. So we're trying to be much more open and accessible. For a start, we've just put in our last budget. We've actually got a really good, one of the best in the country, youth parliament programmes aimed at school children effectively. So what we're trying to do is what I want to do is to work closer with that programme to work out how we then get that age group and also the age groups above it, interacting with us. Martin, open to any ideas. We put a budget in the youth parliament, effectively one of the first youth parliaments in the country to have their own dedicated budget. So we're really up for trying to work on ways of that. And we just put significant investment in a sort of a COVID catch-up fund. It was £1 million, which we're aiming at effectively working with the youth and to help them sort of catch up from COVID. So we're interested. But Martin, my email address is drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. I'm sure the guys will put it up here at some point today, and really up for any ideas as well. So please feed through any ideas. Okay, Nadia McGarry's asked a question about car parks and effectively why we're selling off so many car parks and build luxury flats. Okay, so Nadia, really appreciate your question. Actually, I didn't recognise you now from your stuff on Twitter, so appreciate you care passionate about this. So this administration is absolutely not selling off any car parks, as in none. So I believe the particular one you were referencing, that was a previous council. So Bournemouth Borough Council sold an underutilised car park. We're absolutely not interested in doing that. What we are doing is, for instance, building on some of our car parks in our town centres. So, and that's we're doing that through our Bournemouth Development Company. What that does is it will build up on the top of a car park. Not the great use of land, a single-storey car park. So we'll build up, get that urban densification we can. Really enables us to get some more affordable housing if we can do that, and if we can make these schemes work. But then what we do is we replace that car parking elsewhere. So typically build a multi-storey car park. So that means you release land on multiple car parks nearby. So it's all about that, making best use of land, which is environmentally sound, protecting the green belt by doing that. And building more housing, in town centres. One of the great reasons about that is because then transport's easier. People can really, move around and socialise and interact in their town centres. So it all sort of connected to the previous question about green belt and then scooters, effectively. But categorically, this administration is not selling off any car parks. But we are up for urban densification, building more in our town centres. Okay, let me have a look at the road. Okay, so got a question from Anthony Fuller about Westover Road. I think Beverly knows this area well, so Beverly, by all means can comment on that as well. What I'll just say in a broader sense, we've got something called Cleaner, Greener, Safer. So it's our main ambition as a council. We're going to bring back pride in our town centres. We're going to make sure they're cleaner, greener and safer. So we've got a really big programme going in our main town centres, effectively around cleaning. We're working with the bids to do that. We're working on a large-scale tree planting and greenery piece of work through the Greener initiative, as well as our climate work. And safer, we put a significant amount of resource into extra CSAS officers to make them safer. So we're absolutely, thanks for the feedback, Anthony, and we're absolutely committed to effectively raising the standards. And to do that, we need to invest in our teams that will be able to do that. But we want to hear when it's not right, because the word I've used a number of times is feel. It's got to feel cleaner, greener, and safer. It's got to feel better. It can't be just we tell you it is. It's got to feel it. And so if it doesn't, let us know. Bev, is there anything you wanted to say about Westover Road?
Well, yeah, and in fact, it's quite a timely question, because I was in the gardens and that at the weekend, and I walked up Westover Road. I actually, I'm going to tell you, Anthony, I took some photographs of some of the things that I think we need to pay attention to. And as Drew has said, the Cleaner, Greener, Safer programme is a case of running through all these and making sure that happened. I picked up some things that needed repairing, some things that needed cleaning. But the other important aspect of this is that with my Bournemouth Regen hat on, I'm working very closely with a developer who has 2 applications in for the old Odeon and the ABC cinema. And these are really nice developments with retail, and we're sort of almost at the finishing point there where we can actually start work. They will have a major impact on Westover Road. They will change it completely, change the nature of it, and from there we can really start to change it back to the beautiful place it was.
Yeah, and we're just absolutely committed to getting that done, and we're not going to stop until we do. So keep asking questions. I'm going to go, what I've got you on the screen, Bev. I've got a question from Romaine Lawson about what the plans for a COVID-safe summer at the Beachfront. So perhaps you can talk about some of the beachfront activities that we're doing through Festival Coast Live. I'll start by saying, effectively, one of the great things we've got with the data now is that outdoor, and it actually applies to a question that Terry Pearson has asked, around why are cases so much higher in BCP than in Dorset? Is it because of the visitors? We know for a fact now that outdoor gatherings are significantly safer. We know that there wasn't any mass transmission events from a hugely populated summer on the beach last year. So the beach is safe, and we're really ambitious about what we're going to do with it. We've got some pop-up bars there, effectively pop-up restaurants, but also it's about animating it there, isn't it? So we're doing that through some of the Festival Coast Live stuff that would be in and around the seafront. So can you just maybe talk about what's there?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, Drew, the secret of Festival Coast Live is small pop-up stuff. So it's people that will wander around crowds. It's ambient music that doesn't create big gatherings, and it's things that are sort of spread out quite well. And that enables us to keep people watching to small numbers. But because we're moving it throughout locations, it also, I guess, it allows us to move people, almost move them down and away from gathering, move them to other locations, so we can spread people out along the area, so they can spread out along the seafront. And as you said, with the restaurants being there, they're spread out as well, and it's encouraging people not to congregate and to move down because they can see something nice down the beach. And also with the information they can get from the website, they know that these things are happening, and that will help to spread people around. We are very mindful that we need to keep people safe and keep them spread out.
While also being positive about we can get together safely and have support our economy and have a bit of a party, which the area needs as well. So yeah, great. Thanks very much, Bev. Got a question from Paul Bennett about the toilets under Dolphin Quay, as there's only one toilet on the far end of the quay. Yeah, Paul, really timely question. I think I mentioned earlier on, I was on Paul Quay over the weekend, and just firstly, just fantastic, just delighted at how vibrant it was. The old town is there. We've got some really good local independent restaurants. We've got, I know Nusara is opening on July the 15th, which is a fantastic Thai brand. Renew's are coming in as well. So there's a real, we're desperately looking to sort of revitalise the quay, old town, etc. But it's no point bringing people there if you haven't got toilets, effectively. So so firstly, I agree with you that we need more toilet provision on the quay. We're looking to see what we can do to stand that up this summer, effectively, as part of a Festival Coast Live piece of work that's got some challenges to it. There are toilets under Dolphin Quay. They're not council toilets, but as part of the planning condition, they're supposed to be open. So I've personally asked our team to explore all avenues to how we can, and if we have to, move to a legal position to get those toilets open. I actually, long term, are they actually in the right place? They're not very well, they're a little bit hidden. So we're going to increase signposting effectively. But we've got an ambition to build a permanent extra public toilet on Paul Quay. I think you're right, because the current one's at the other end of the quay. So all I can say is, Paul, I agree with you. We're trying to do something for this summer. We absolutely will do something for before the end of this term, council term. I had a meeting I believe it was last Friday, with Poole Harbour commissioners who own who own some of the land on the quay. And in that meeting, we said really, really clearly, we have to, one, rejuvenate the quay. We want to build a programme forward that really supports all that cafe culture, but we also want an extra toilet. So we will get there, Paul. And I'm desperately trying to make sure we get something improved this summer. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. Okay, Fiona has asked a question about planning. Effectively, I won't read the whole question out because it's, but please put it on the screen if possible. I'm not going to read the whole question out because, I haven't said it. Can't see me. But it's a very big question. So effectively, I'll just paraphrase it effectively. You've submitted a planning application in January. You've changed different planning officers, and you're not getting anywhere effectively. Happy to take the question down now that we've put it up on screen. Thank you. So you're not alone either, Fiona. There's a huge amount of work going on by our planning officers to catch up from what was an enormous backlog of applications. And we've also put a significant amount of money in our budget last February to effectively allow us to bring on external planning officers to catch up on our backlog. We've also got 3 planning systems at the moment, because we've got the Poole, Bournemouth and Christchurch ones, and they need to come together as one system to work more efficiently. So Fiona, all I can say is this is pretty much the top priority of the council at the moment. There's a huge amount of hard work. Our officers are absolutely fantastic. They're doing a great job, but they're under significant pressure. So my job is to make sure we've got more resources, so we can effectively allow these applications to be caught up. And then it's about transforming the service. Interestingly, I think it's fair to say, we've got 3, functioning, decent, good planning departments historically. What we're trying to do by now coming together as BCP as a place is to be a world-class city region. So we need to not just put what we've had together before there. We don't need to just put more resources in so our officers aren't so stretched dealing with applications, which we are doing. But then we also need to imagine what type of planning department, what service do we need to be one of the best ones in the country, to be a city, city region, effective 400,000 people, the same size as Bristol. So we're one of the larger, metropolitan areas. We need to invest in it. We need to be more ambitious about where we're going. But first of all, we need to fix the problem. So Fiona, all I can say is I apologise. We are working on it. Absolutely, it is Councillor Broadhead and I have a weekly conversation about progress on it. Technically we are getting better, but it hasn't landed yet, and we've not gone far enough or fast enough. So thank you for your question. Keep keep letting us know if it's not improving, but it absolutely is our focus to improve it. Okay, right. So we've got quite a lot of questions coming, probably more because we've got different platforms. So apologies if I'm not answering all your questions. What we will try and do is the ones I haven't answered directly. We'll try and come back on one of the channels to answer them. Okay, fine. So, okay, again about Westover Road. So Bev, if you've got any questions you've seen that you want to answer, by all means, ask to come back in. We've answered a question about BCP Coast Hive and Dorset. So
I was
Bev, carry on.
I just wondered, I noticed the one about the Sang, and as I've been looking at this with my regen hat on, I thought it might be useful to put a different perspective on it. Why are we the requirements of Natural England to mitigate development by providing suitable alternative natural green space? There is a real upside to this in that we can create country parks, nature parks and open space families can use, people who might not have been able to use it before. We can create better access. We can create facilities for disabled people, disabled children, so we can use that space for people to lead better, healthier lifestyles and get more quality of life. So it's not just about mitigating development. Obviously on that we do have to provide homes for people, but it's opportunities for us to provide good quality open space that other people can enjoy that they might not normally enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely, Bev. Fantastic, thank you. I've got a question from Steve Calamy. Is there a full business budget plan that residents can view that justifies the council purchasing 2 new mayoral cars, please? Yes, Steve. So effective there is. You can. It was part of our fleet report that went to through the council process recently. I'm sure we will be able to put a link to that report, that paper, effectively here. I can't remember exactly. So at some point today, we'll make sure there's a link to that paper here. So what that was about, effectively, is a whole, what we're doing with our fleet of vehicles, various different types of vehicles we need. There is provision in that paper for 2 vehicles that would be multi-use vehicles, which the mayors will be able to access and use. So effectively, why is that important? Somebody said, and I thought, appreciated the comment, why don't we use barrel bikes to get around? Interestingly, one of the things I'm really passionate about is our heritage, and how important historically our mayors are. I go to a lot of events with the mayors and see how well they're received. So we're not going to diminish. We don't want to diminish our heritage. It's got to be right, and it's got to be relevant to the modern world. We've got two fantastic mayors at the moment, Julie Bagwell in Poole, who's really engaging with the community, which is absolutely fantastic. David, our first openly gay mayor in Bournemouth, absolutely, really up for engagement with the community. In terms of cars, one of the reasons as well is they're often going around at night. They go around with very historic chains, which have a significant value, and it's sort of effectively irreplaceable. So they need some support as they go around. But it's got to be right as well. It's got to be financial. One of the great things is about them being multi-use vehicles. So historically, we've just had a mayoral car. That's not acceptable. So we need to make sure it's part of our wider fleet. But Steve, long-winded answer. But by all means, we will put a link to that paper there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is try and get to some of the questions that have come in more recently. We've only got a few minutes left, and we'll be talking a little bit more about Festival Coast Live at the end. Okay. Yeah, fine. Let me see if we can get. Yeah, we've had discussions with Jamie Dunn on here before about Upton, so won't come back about that. My answer's not changed. So we've got quite a few questions about antisocial behaviour, about drug users, drug deals, effectively. What I think we'll do, I'll say something briefly about what we're doing about that. But what I think would be useful is if we actually organise a Facebook session specifically on SAFER, effectively, on antisocial behaviour. And I'll see if our lead portfolio holder, May Haynes, Community Safety, and also the Police and Crime Commissioner will want to attend that. I think we can have a really useful session on that. So Lucy, all I can say is we're doing more than we have done historically around antisocial behaviour since we came in on 1st of October last year. We put an extra 6 CSAS officers, so community support officers, so they have active powers, delegated from the police, effectively we've made a real political choice for being safe, matters, effectively. So we put that into our budget. We put it into an alternate budget when we were in opposition, and it got rejected by the Liberal Democrat-led coalition. So we're doing something. We've now got a new Police and Crime Commissioner who's campaigned for years, David Sidwick, on antisocial behaviour. So our partnership working with the police is really moving forward. Which is great. Okay, but it's not anywhere near done. We've got so much more to do. So let us run a session on it. Bev, I believe you've got a question on single-sex loos.
Well, yeah, I've just noticed the question from Lynn. I was going to say I'm happy to take that one away. I've noticed a few people raise that concern. I think with Durley, it's probably a lack of facilities. I think there's only 3 cubicles down there, and they're probably what we call unisex. But I think Lynn's raising quite a pertinent point at the moment about the protection of single-sex spaces. And what I was going to say was I'm more than happy to take that one away and actually speak to our lead member for equality. If Lynn is happy with that, and she can, if she wants to contact me, she can find my email address at the council. I'm happy to communicate back to her on that one.
Yeah, great. That'll be wonderful, Bev. Thank you. Okay, last few minutes now. So I've got a question from Andrew Jeans. Aren't considering alternative or off-grid solutions like solar lighting, solar power for smart city furniture, effectively. So we've just done in our last cabinet cycle, Andrew. We've just effectively doubled the climate and ecological emergency budget. It was originally taken out by the previous administration, so they cancelled the money for climate and ecological emergency. We put it back in. We reinstated it when we came into power and now what we've just done is we've doubled it effectively. So we realise there's this huge amount of extra work we need to do on this. One of the things we are doing, there'll be a paper coming in the autumn, is looking back. What back money we've done is put some more officer resource in, so we've got more capacity to bring forward some really inventive, programmes. We talked as far away as June last year about bringing it forward a community municipal bond, which is effectively how we can put proper money into large-scale, environmental projects. Solar is absolutely one. I've got a meeting in my diary at some point in the next couple of weeks with an organisation that looks at mapping our entire area, so that then residents can actually, click on and see with their postcode what their propensity for solar is, and also as we own a lot of land and buildings, then we would know immediately how we could then stand up our a massive expansion of solar. So Andrew, we are on it. We've got a question about grants, effectively, from Dawn McLaughlin. So, do you not think the council should be transparent with the grants applied for by communities? So Dawn, actually, I disagree with you a little bit here. I think our finance team and through the government support have been a huge amount, as in an unprecedented amount of grants. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's literally, in hundreds of millions of pounds of grants that have gone through to people, businesses, and our communities. We're just Councillor Phil Broadhead, just leading on effectively a Bounce Back Better, fund where we're getting some really innovative. People have come forward. Not everybody's been successful because so many people came forward, but he's now doing a programme of videos to talk about every one of those places that's supported. So we'll be really transparent. Bev, could you perhaps take that opportunity to talk about the Festival Coast Live, grant stream that we're doing and how we're hopefully using that to enable not-for-profits, effectively events company, to bring forward some really innovative stuff around Festival Coast Live.
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to do with Festival Coast Live, that's very important to me, was to make sure that we had community engagement. And I want to say that in the true sense of the word, so that we were getting through to some of the communities that we don't normally engage with very well, that we haven't been very successful at it, and bring those sort of cultures out into the community, so everyone can be celebrated. And in order to help with that, we had a couple of grant funds running. We had one that would help some event organisers with some COVID measures, but more importantly, we had a small grant opportunity where new activity providers or event providers could apply for money to help them get their event going, and we particularly wanted to make that attractive to the minorities that don't normally get that opportunity. We've had a number of things coming forward that we're working with a number of groups, and we've supported a number of groups to do that. They're only very small grants. It's maximum £5,000. Some of them were a lot less. They just needed a small amount of money, and it's really just to help them going, because a big part of Festival Coast Live, as I said, is we're trying to help everybody get their mojo back, get out, and then find a way in which we can enjoy ourselves safely.
Great, thanks, Bev. Okay, so we're over time now. So what I'm going to do a very quick look at a couple of questions and try and get through some. While I'm doing that, hopefully we can put the Festival Coast Live website up so that we can effectively, promote that. Please, this is a fantastic, investment, but also the opportunity for us as a community to really do something that very few other communities in the country are doing. So please engage with it. It's all about you, local people, and it's about supporting our economy. You can follow it on Twitter, Instagram as well, and Facebook. So by all means, please engage with it. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to I think we need to make these sessions longer than half an hour, because there's a load of questions we haven't got through. So I'll work with the team to get that a bit extended. A couple of quick questions. Will Windsor, why can't there be a year-round cycle lane on the prom? Will, in our last budget, we brought forward an investment in a feasibility study around the prom, about where we can widen it effectively. Part of that's about making extra space, so that we've got more opportunities for event space, but part of that is about opportunities to how we can use it better there as well. So Will, we are actively looking at that. Should report back to me within the next month, and then I would expect a paper to come through sort of in the autumn cycle about what we're actually going to do around prom widening. Similar question, Helen Moore, 1st of July, no bike along the beach Does this also include barrel bikes and, most important, scooters? Yes, it does, effectively. And as I said earlier, because of the barrel bikes, we're able to slow people down and stop them as well. So yeah, great, fine. And then one of my colleagues has just kindly given me some facts around the business grant stats. So we've chosen to invest more than £3 million in just discretionary grant funding from government into over 100 innovative project ideas as part of our latest Bounce Back Challenge Fund. So a bit more detail on that. And in total, it was over £100 million. As the right answer, we've issued more than £150 million in statutory and discretionary grants since the start of the pandemic. Bev, hugely appreciate you coming on board, joining us and talking about Festival Coast Live. Anything you would like to say before we move on?
Yeah, really, just to get the message out. We've got 700 events going to be running over the summer, and it's there for people to enjoy themselves. Everything's totally free. There's all sorts of things going on for children, families, whatever age you are. There should be something for you. So get out there and enjoy.
Get involved. Yeah, absolutely awesome. And one thing I'll certainly be doing is Wimbledon. The sun is out amazingly for when Wimbledon's on. So getting down into it's for lower gardens, isn't it? So we've got a huge TV screen. We'll be playing, watching over. So have a picnic, go and support local businesses as well. And get your own Wimbledon in Bournemouth Gardens as well. Thanks very much, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Apologies we didn't get through all the questions. We will extend the session we're getting so many questions in now. But really appreciate it. Thank you, Bev, and look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks' time. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.